Hello, everybody. I hope you are having a sufficiently spooky October so far. And today I'm going to be talking and ranking all of the perk jingles from all of the perks in Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Zombies. This is a game that I'm very familiar with. It's probably one of my most played games of all time, alongside things like Minecraft and Diablo 3, bangers all around. So I thought it would be an interesting topic to discuss. And it kind of brings me back to the content that I started with on the channel, music rankings. I can't take all the credit though. I did have a friend who recommended this topic to me specifically. So thank you. You know who you are. It's a great idea. That's why I'm doing it today. Now you may notice there's no like actual tier list on the screen, and there's a couple reasons for that. A, there's not as many like things to rank. There's only 12 perks in total. So I thought it didn't make much sense to have like created a whole tier list. It would have been the juice wouldn't have been worth the squeeze. Also, the site I used to create the tier lists for all those other videos, um, like wants a really strange amount of information, and a really strange amount of access and control over your Twitter account, X account, whatever you feel like calling it. And I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I do now have a Twitter account. I did delete it a while ago, but now I'm back on there, posting art, looking at art, stuff like that, updating people about these videos. So anyway, that's why it's not like that. I'll just go from worst to best, and give you my reasoning for why I liked it, why I disliked it. So yeah, here we go. Starting off with number 12, the worst perk, in my opinion, in the entire game, that would be Vulture Aid. It is the only jingle that I actively dislike out of the entire lineup, which is strange because it's one of my favorite perks. Uh, Although that doesn't factor into obviously the how I feel about the song. One thing that does factor in, I think, is how well I think it works as a jingle. So it's got to be kind of catchy, otherwise it doesn't really function as a perk jingle. And I thought that was an important criteria to include, though it's not the be all end all. If there's one that I think's just a catchy song, uh, but not really good, it's not gonna do great just because it might work as a jingle. And if there's one that's really good, but it's you know, not that catchy, it's not gonna do terribly. But yeah, Vulture Aid, one of my favorite perks, what I think is one of the best perks from Black Ops 2, but easily one of the most boring, overly long perk jingles in the entire game. Next up at number 11, that would be Electric Cherry, which you could easily put in the 12th spot of the entire list. I would understand that completely. And that the reason for that is it's more of an ambient track. It works well within the context of Mob of the Dead, which I believe is the only map in the entire game that it's on. But outside of that, it doesn't really do much. Like obviously it works well with the map, but it's not catchy. Um, and it doesn't really work as a jingle. It's just a nice piece of ambient music that again works with the map. But again, other than that, I'm not a huge fan of it. I did put it above Vulture Aid because Vulture Aid I find aggravating how boring it is. Electric Cherry I didn't have to spend much time listening to, and I think it works better in the context of the map, even more than Vulture Aid, which kind of works within Buried. The next perk being Stamina Up at number 10. It's got a great chill vibe on its own, but I don't think it holds up all too well as a jingle. It takes a bit too long to get going to work in that aspect, and no part of it is as catchy enough to stick with me much afterwards. That being said, its sort of persistent vibe does lend itself to the effect the perk gives. It kind of uh, with the lyrical content and just the like weight and tempo of the track, I think it works really well to help demonstrate the like stamina boost effect. At number 9, we have Deadshot Daiquiri. Um, I don't know if I truly believe it's above Stamina Up. Like it's all right. I do enjoy it, but I'm not in love with it, and I don't find it all that catchy, but I do like how many, like, little segments and, ideas they fit into such a short piece of music, while still having it feel like it works as a jingle, but also as like a mini rock song. And just above that, at number 8, is Mule Kick. Mule Kick is an absolute banger. The guy who sounds like he was ripped straight from a like Western goes a long way to sell the story behind the jingle. And I think like his like narrating, but like also singing at the same time, delivery is easily one of my favorite individual parts of any of the jingles in the entire game. Uh, but it's not a very catchy song. It is one of my favorites, and it's attached to a good perk, obviously. Um, but I don't think it's good enough to be on the same level as a lot of the other perks, even though there is that like Western narration singing aspect to it. Uh, Outside of that, there's not anything I absolutely love. Moving on to number 7, we have Double Tap, which is one of the most recognizable perks out there and one of the most recognizable jingles. Um, One important aspect of a lot of these jingles is you rarely hear the entire thing. Like, most players probably won't hear the entirety of any of these unless they're like camping by one of the perk machines, which I could understand for a couple spots on certain maps. Um, so a lot of them have a little shortened part that will play as you buy the perk. Double Tap, for instance, which I think really helps sell it as a jingle and just as a fun little song alone, has once you buy it, like the guy yells out, "You thirsty partner," and the punch behind it, I think, just works really well. Uh, it's also just a catchy track. So again, this is at number 7, and this is the point where I start thinking these are some absolute bangers, some downright catchy shit, uh, some some just good songs in general. At number 6, we have Speed Cola. It's truly a song that makes one want to get jiggy with it, if you will. And I really appreciate like the second half's backup singers. It's not quite as catchy as some of the others, but I think it's good enough outside of that to do more than make up for it. And while it's not one of my personal favorites, again, I place it here because of all the aspects I said before. Um, but it doesn't have nearly as much memorable things as everything above it. But I do enjoy it, even though it doesn't stick out as much. At number 5, we have PhD Flopper, which until like listening to all the perk jingles, I completely forgot was actually obtainable within the game. That being said, it has this sort of like jazzy, like old porno music core type vibe to it, which is only further exaggerated by the amazing lyric that is, your explosive lovin'. And with bars like that, what more do you need? While PhD Flopper's lame ass, stupid ass perk that you cannot obtain on the one map, that it would be absolutely not only useful but crucial, that being Die Rise, the worst fucking map on existence. Um, in not only Black Ops 2 zombies, but zombies as a whole. Um, it's a good song. It's a fun song. I can't deny that. And that's why it's at number 5. A high spot, but not as high as it goes. At number 4, just outside of the top 3, we have Juggernog. It's really jazzy, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate that to such a point where at one point I learned how to play a very small portion of it on my trombone. And that was really cool to me and probably annoying to a lot of my friends and anyone who I played it in front of. Uh, but I really appreciate that aspect to it. I also like I don't know, like, probably gonna get this wrong, like big band backup singers in the background intermixed with the main singer that gives the like uh what's it called? Like the build up, I think towards the end of the song where he like says a line and then says pack a punch, and then that keeps going. I think it does really well, not only as a jingle, but just as a song as a whole. And it's easily outside of the next song the one I have remembered the most outside of doing this and just playing the game. This is the one where, like, the thought of it just comes back to me the most. Now, these next three could be interchangeable uh, and probably controversial to a lot of people out there. But I do believe these are all good enough to stand on their own, good enough as jingles, and could easily take any of the top three spots. Um, and I say all this because my number three pick, what takes in the bronze, is probably going to be at least a slightly controversial pick because it's not one, and a lot of people would probably put it there, and that would be Quick Revive. As I said, it works as an actual jingle. It is incredibly catchy in full, and just played as the small snippet at the end. You know, the you need a little revive part. It is peak perk jingle, and it's attached to an actual good perk, which helps you start to hear it, get acclimated to it. Uh, it's one of the only perks I remembered before revisiting this whole list. It is the one I remember the most, even to this day. That's probably largely because on playing town, one of the best spots on the map is camping, like in the building, and then you're like in the corner by the hole in the fucking bar, and then there's the quick revive thing right by you. Plus you buy that 3 times a match if you're like trying to last the longest single player. My next two perks are both the worst perks in the game, the two worst perks in the game. I will say that outright. Yet, despite that, or maybe because of it, they managed to take the silver and gold. At my number two spot, I have Tombstone. Uh, it truly is one of the worst perks in the game. It sucks complete ass outside of the glitch on town. But oh my god, is this song a bop. I'd argue it's just as catchy as Quick Revive, although me not remembering it until I revisited this probably hurts that argument. But I just love everything about this song. The singing's great. It's got a fun little rhythm to it. I've heard really funny remixes of it, which, certainly helps. So that's how it secured the silver. Now, at number one, we have a perk that many people probably don't remember, and that would be Who's Who. Why are the two best perk jingles attached to the two worst perks? Who knows? But I am glad that Who's Who exists off of Die Rise Again because of fucking course it is. Simply for the fact that this jingle is incredible. Um, it's it tells like a really interesting story that kind of explains the concept of the perk. Um, this perk sucks ass. I need to take a moment to say this. So this perk is like if Quick Revive shit its pants, and I think it costs more. Like you get the opportunity to go revive yourself. You like spawn outside of your own body, kind of like in Mob of the Dead, and then you get the chance to go run and revive yourself, which wouldn't be that bad in theory, except for the fact you don't have any of your guns, I believe. You just have the starting pistol. So, it's complete trash. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But but the song itself, as I said, it explains the purpose of the perk, which I do gotta give it points for. It is extremely catchy. And throughout the entirety of the song, it starts like building on itself and adding layers of like vocals and more instrumentals, and it becomes like this chaotic, fun little song that I really enjoy. I've listened to it a couple times after listening to all the songs to refresh my memory for the video, and I stand by the fact that this is truly one of the best jingles in the game. Now, with all that said, you've seen all my rankings and my opinions on the 12 perks in Black Ops 2, and I hope you enjoyed it. The reason I didn't do the perks from the other games, like Black Ops 3, is because haven't quite played them as expansively. Um, Black Ops 3, the one I mentioned, I've played quite a bit, but I couldn't tell you much going on with perk jingles in that one, except Widow's Wine, I think I've heard and remember a bit of that. That's spectacular, Perk. That shit's awesome. Um, but yeah, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my ranking. If you disagreed, let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'm sure a lot of you have Quick Revive at number one, and that's totally understandable. So yeah, you guys have a great day. Godspeed.